Hello, my name's Nigel Cox, Senior Horticultural Lecturer at Bridgewater and Taunton College, and we're here on a lovely summer's day in my vegetable patch. And today I want to talk to you about soil structure. And now in the previous video I talked about soil texture, what the basic constituents of your soil might be, whether it's clay, sand, silt or a mixture of those. But that is not sufficient for successful growing of any kind of plants, because you want to ensure that you have as good a structure to the soil as possible. Now, when we talk about structure, we don't just mean the dirt. What we mean is the constituents which make up that whole soil which the plants are going to live in. And generally, about 50% of your soil is going to be made up of your sand and your silt or your clay, essentially the small rock particles. And the other 50% is made up of air, water, and about 5% organic matter. Now, the organic matter is key to this. Soil without organic matter is lifeless. Organic, the word itself means living, or something that once was living. Now, there are two options in terms of improving your soil structure, and sometimes even more options. If you've got a really heavy clay soil that you can make pots out of, it's a back-breaking job to create a really nice soil structure. So in that case, you may wish to put raised beds in so you can create your own individual soil. But for most soils, we're looking at air pockets in the soil so that the roots can access oxygen, which they need to produce energy in the plants. We need good water holding capacity so that nutrients can be dissolved in the water and then taken up by the plants. And we need, on top of that, organic matter, which provides food for all the small bugs, the microorganisms, the bacteria that live in the soil. And what we're essentially trying to do in any of these situations is to create as natural an environment, as living a soil as possible. Now, you can add nutrients by adding inorganic fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, but what they tend to do is they will wipe out some of those good bugs, those earthworms, the fungi, bacteria. And so it's much better, if you can, to treat your soil organically. Now, in my case, I use a no-dig system here, which means that I never dig my soil. I simply put a layer of maybe 50 millimeters of organic matter on the top of the soil each spring and plant into that. Now, that makes sense to me, and one of my heroes is Charles Dowding, and Charles Dowding is the guru of no-dig. And in a no-dig situation, the philosophy is really, if you leave the soil to its own devices, then it'll get on with life. It'll have all of those things in it which it needs for successful plant growth. However, you can dig, and if you dig, or if you no-dig, the one key thing is that organic matter, and that's lovely stuff. And if you make your own compost, that's fantastic. That's a way of recycling all that material, waste material, which otherwise you'd send to landfill. And you can end up with this lovely friable mixture, which is just bursting with life. That's going to help hold on to the water in the soil, but it's also going to open up those heavy soils to allow air in, and that air is critical then to the success of the plants. So in terms of no dig, you simply just spread a layer, a 2-inch layer on the surface of the soil, and you plant into that. And I must say that since I've started no dig, and I have raised beds here, and I've compared no dig with dig, I've had excellent results with no dig. And the other advantages, of course, is that it's not so hard work on your back. Now, some people say, well, if I don't dig, what about the weeds? Well, annual weed seed is buried in the soil, and if you don't dig, you're not going to bring that to the surface, and therefore you're going to have less annual weeds. With perennial weeds, if you build a raised bed, then you can lay a layer of cardboard on the surface before you put the soil on top of it, and in that situation you will reduce the amount of perennial weed, and simply as you see it appear, hoe it off or pull it out, and over a period of time you'll get rid of that. I had terrible bindweed when I moved in here 11 years ago in these plots, and through persistence and no use of sprays, I'm now in a situation where I have relatively little problem with my perennial weeds, and the bindweed, it doesn't stand a chance. So there we are. Soil structure, really important that you understand how important soil structure is to successful gardening. So until the next time, good gardening, and I'll see you soon.